Hey, what's up my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here, and I know my surroundings look a little bit different than usual. I am actually shooting this video from my living room. So let me know if you like the layout. You're probably gonna get a little bit of different audio here because I'm using my on-camera mic and my dog is walking around, so please excuse that. But it's the first of the month, which can only mean one thing on my channel. It is time to go over another letter in my movie collection. So today we're gonna be going over movies that start with the letter F, and first up on the list is an absolute classic, and that is the John Travolta, Nicolas Cage movie, Face Off. Now this is one of those movies where I wouldn't say necessarily it's a good movie, but it's a very enjoyable one, especially if you came up in the 90s with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta just being completely ridiculous on film. This, you are getting the best of both actors as far as them just going full crazy. And it is absolutely hilarious and fantastic. The action sequences are nuts. They don't make any sense. They're just completely ridiculous. So Face Off had to have it in the collection. That is the first one we're gonna talk about. Then we have a little bit of a double feature. This is before the Marvel Cinematic Universe was what it is now. We had a couple of movies called Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Now the first Fantastic Four movie I enjoyed. You have Chris Evans playing the Human Torch, who I thought was really good in that role. It's kind of funny because I also think he's really good as Captain America now. So it's almost like these two characters were him at different points in his life. But all in all, I actually do enjoy the first Fantastic Four movie. I know it's got a lot of issues. The sequel, The Rise of Silver Surfer, is not great, but I had this double pack, or at least I saw this double pack for pretty much the same price as just the first movie, so I figured I'd buy them both. So Fantastic Four 1 and 2. You'll notice I do not have the most recent Fantastic Four movie because that one is such trash. Holy crap. I saw that in theaters and it's so weird to have a movie that has had such a high budget and such a great cast and crew behind it be so terrible. If you disagree with me on that, let me know in the comments, but that movie was atrocious. All right, next up, we just had a 2-pack. Now we have an 8-pack. That's right. The first 8 movies in the Fast and Furious collection. Now the reason why I have the 8-pack, well first off, I don't think they have a bundle with the 9th movie in it just yet, but I will not be purchasing the 9th movie. I think the Fast and Furious movies are kind of guilty pleasures for the majority of them. Some of them are genuinely good action movies. I actually prefer the old ones. The first Fast and the Furious, the first 3, honestly, are movies that I absolutely love. And it's probably because I was at that age when I was like, just getting a car for the first time and watching these movies. And so I probably have a lot of nostalgia linked to them with that. From there, they stayed good for a little while. And then at around the time of the 8th movie, they kind of just went too ridiculous. And then with the 9th movie, they go to space. It's like, what? I can't get behind it anymore. I'm hoping this new one that's gonna be coming out is kind of a return to form, but I mean, I really don't know where they go from here. They literally sent Ludacris to space. What else can we possibly do? Are we gonna fight dinosaurs? I don't know, but I'm hoping with the new one they return to form and take us back to what I loved about the original movies. So yes, the Fast and the Furious 8 movie collection on 4K Blu-ray also got a great deal on this. I want to say it was like 40 bucks or something for 8 movies, which is insane. So I actually recommend picking that up if you can find it for a good deal. Okay, next up we get a little bit less ridiculous, but still over the top as far as the action is concerned, and that is Jet Li's Fearless. Now this movie is based on a true story. It's about, I think, the guy who basically founded modern day wushu, who I think was actually Bruce Lee's instructor or something like that. He was connected to him in some way. And Jet Li made a movie very loosely based on his life and about the formation of, I think it's called like the Wushu Federation or something like that. It's a cool kung fu movie, or I guess wushu movie if you're into that kind of thing. Although it is definitely a little heavy on the like propaganda where it paints this guy. I wouldn't say they paint him as a full-on hero because he definitely has some major flaws, but some of the stuff that he accomplishes in the movie is not historically accurate, as you might expect, and goes a little bit overboard. But all in all, I do enjoy this movie. I remember getting this, I think originally on DVD when it first came out. Now I have it on Blu-ray, of course, but getting it on DVD because it was supposedly Jet Li's last martial arts movie, which of course, as we know, it was not. He would go on to do many more martial arts movies after this. But at the time, it was like, holy crap, this is it for him. We got to get this movie. But Jet Li in Fearless, a really good movie, and even though it's not necessarily the most historically accurate, just an interesting story. You also have Michelle Yeoh playing a smaller role at the beginning of the movie, which is kind of cool. All right, next up we go from Jet Li's Fearless to Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. This is a great film. It's one of the modern classics, I guess you could say. It's got some absolutely classic lines, you know, with the whole thing about, I want the truth, you can't handle the truth. And then, you know, Jack Nicholson's whole tirade on, you need me on that wall. It's a really great movie. It's honestly, dramatically, I think one of Tom Cruise's better films. I mean, he's obviously a great actor, but I really enjoy him in this. Jack Nicholson is fantastic as well. It's just a really good movie all the way through, and some really memorable stuff and some things that you are left really pondering over at the end of the movie. So, A Few Good Men on 4K. I don't know if you necessarily need this one on 4K. It doesn't look exceptional, I would say. Blu-ray is probably fine, but if you get a good deal, pick it up on 4K. Next up is one of, if not my favorite, sci-fi, action, comedy, artistic film, all wrapped into one. And I have owned this movie on DVD. I think I owned it on VHS, on DVD, on Blu-ray, I think multiple times on different versions of Blu-ray, like different releases of it, and now on 4K, and that is The Fifth Element. I freaking love this movie. It is so good. It looks awesome, especially on 4K. Very colorful. They, I forget the name of the guy who was like the artistic inspiration for the movie, but it's this French artist that they kind of were inspired by when they created this. Of course, you have Bruce Willis. Gary Oldman is in this, who is great. I love Gary Oldman's character in this movie. And Mila Jovovich, of course, just being a complete badass. Love Mila Jovovich, especially in this. I think this is definitely her best movie. Now that I think about it, yeah, it probably is her best movie. Let me know what you think if you have another Mila Jovovich movie that you prefer over The Fifth Element. But I absolutely love this. Sci-fi action. Oh, Chris Tucker being completely ridiculous as, what was his character's name? Ruby something. But just a great movie. Very funny. Very cool action. A good romance as well. I mean, it's got everything. So Fifth Element, an absolute recommendation from me. You must pick up this movie if you haven't seen it. Then we go to another classic, and that is Fight Club with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. This is a movie that I think every guy my age growing up loved at one point or another. I do really enjoy the movie. It's got some really interesting messages about like consumerism and about modern society. Also has a very interesting, I don't know if I want to say a twist. It has an interesting twist. I won't say what it is in case you haven't seen the movie, but it's a very unique way to go about this movie that has been kind of copied in a number of movies since. I would say not as well, but in this one, they did a very good job with it. And yeah, I really like Edward Norton and Brad Pitt both in this movie. They're not necessarily good guys, but I enjoy their characters. So Fight Club, one that I had to own, of course. Then we go in a little bit of a two, not necessarily two-pack, but two movies that are sequels of one another, and that is Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. I know, what a departure from Fight Club to Finding Nemo, but that is next in the alphabetical order. I really enjoy both of these movies, to be honest. It's rare that you'll get a Disney animated sequel that is on par with the original, but I think that in this case, the second movie is, I wouldn't say as good, but still very good, very enjoyable, absolutely worth checking out. It's got the heart that you have from the original Finding Nemo, and what I like about it too is that in the original Finding Nemo, Dory is just kind of a silly, goofy character, but then exploring her in the sequel and really getting to the bottom of like how her short-term memory really affects her and has affected her throughout her life, she becomes so much more sympathetic, and you know, it tugs at your heartstrings. And of course, there's a lot of humor in there as well. So Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, a couple of really good Disney animated films that I would recommend you check out. All right, next up, we had a Jet Li movie, and now we're getting a Jet Li and a Jackie Chan movie. And this one is called The Forbidden Kingdom. This movie, it let me down, if I'm being honest. I remember when this was announced, and as a kid myself who grew up on martial arts movies, I'm telling you, me and my buddy would go to Blockbuster every Friday and rent whatever martial arts movies they had, and then go back home and watch them, and then go to the backyard and beat each other up trying to like recreate the scenes from the movies. So when I heard that Jet Li and Jackie Chan were getting together for an old school kung fu style movie, I was totally in. And then when I got the movie, or rather when I watched the movie when it came out, it it did really let me down quite a bit. It's still fun to see Jet Li and Jackie Chan mixing it up, of course, but they did that thing that so many kung fu movies did when they tried to connect with a Western audience, which is where they cast a generic white male lead and he becomes like the, you know, amazing martial artist throughout the movie, and it's just like it doesn't really connect to the reasons why I loved these martial arts movies from back in the day. So the movie did disappoint me, but I have to own it because it's got two of my favorite martial arts actors ever, and it does still have some cool sequences throughout it that merit going back and rewatching from time to time. So The Forbidden Kingdom, not as good as I would have wanted it to be, but still good enough to have in the collection. This is so weird because we've had a Jet Li movie, we've had a Jet Li and a Jackie Chan movie, and now we're getting a Jackie Chan movie in The Foreigner. I don't know why it ended up being this way, but it just so happens that all the movies that start with F are Jackie Chan and Jet Li, I guess. But The Foreigner is a more modern movie with Jackie Chan and also Pierce Brosnan, who plays an Irish, I'm not sure what his role is. He was a former member of the IRA, which is that kind of like, I don't know how you would categorize them, like terrorists, but also like freedom fighters. I guess it depends on which perspective you're coming at it from. And he was a former member of that, and now he is kind of keeping them in check, working for the British government, I think. I don't know, excuse my ignorance to the actual history of what happened there. But Jackie Chan, excuse me, is a former like special forces guy who his daughter ends up getting killed in an IRA bombing, and he then is trying to figure out who was responsible for it, and there's this whole thing where he is trying to influence Pierce Brosnan's character to give him the details and to let him know who is responsible, and Pierce Brosnan is getting mixed up in working for the British government and trying to bust the people that did it, but also still having connections to the people that are responsible for this and wanting to kind of like not get them put in prison for the rest of their lives, I guess. It's a very interesting movie, and Jackie Chan really gets to stretch a lot more of his dramatic muscles. He still does some badass stuff in the movie as far as martial arts is concerned, but much less. I mean, he's a lot older in this movie, so they definitely play on that whole thing of him not being quite capable of what he once was capable of. But it's still a really cool thriller action movie. Definitely recommend you check it out. Pierce Brosnan is also great in it. So The Foreigner, worth watching. And I feel like it just didn't get as much of a push when it first came out, but I'm telling you, this is something that you should definitely check out. All right, next up we have a comedy here, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is a movie that I actually hadn't seen when it first came out. I only recently watched this. My girlfriend recommended it to me, and it is very, very funny. A lot of really great scenes in this. Paul Rudd is in the movie, and he has a line that I'll just repeat periodically just because. He says, "The weather outside is weather." I don't know what that means, but I guess it's accurate, and it just makes me laugh every time I hear it. Of course, you also have Jason Segel, Kristen Bell is in this, and oh God, what's his name? The British guy, Russell Brand? Yes, Russell Brand, who's also very funny in this movie. So all in all, just a fun rom-com type film that flew under my radar for a good while, so I really enjoyed it, actually. Then we've got a more recent 4K movie. This is Free Guy, which I believe came out on Netflix. It's Ryan Reynolds. He is a video game character, basically an NPC in a video game. You also have Taika Waititi, who plays like the creator of the game. And honestly, this movie, I wouldn't say is groundbreaking in any way, but it's visually very appealing. It looks great on 4K. It's got some genuinely funny moments and some really cool action sequences. And so although it's not anything that I think is going to stand out in, maybe the test of time, it is just really enjoyable, and I got a good deal on it, so I picked it up on 4K. And so if you're just looking for a fun, funny, action-packed, kind of goofy movie that takes place in a video game world, then hey, maybe check this one out, Free Guy. Again, I do think it's also on Netflix, so if you don't want to buy it, you don't necessarily have to. All right, we're getting to the end here. Next up is an absolute classic in Friday. I just rewatched this movie after not seeing it for like several years, and damn, it holds up. It is so freaking funny. If you grew up in the 90s and maybe in not the best of neighborhoods, you know a lot of the characters in this movie. It definitely took me back. There was a lot of nostalgia here. And honestly, I think it's one of Chris Tucker's first, like, his big breaks. And he does go on in many of his other movies to pretty much play himself over and over again. But this is really where you kind of see the birth of it. And then playing across Ice Cube, who is like the ultimate straight man in a comedy. Their chemistry just works so well together. It's really funny. You have Debo, I forget the actor that plays him, but I think he passed away. He was also fantastic in his role. It's just a really funny movie. It pretty clearly, in my opinion, is influenced by Clerks because it's basically just following these two kind of hapless characters who don't have much going for them, and it's just kind of like a day in their life where they come up against a particular conflict and they have to resolve it by the end, and it's just very slice of life in that manner. And it's basically Clerks, except if, unlike the characters in Clerks, you did not grow up in that kind of middle class white suburban environment, this is way more relatable. So even though I do love Clerks a great deal, this is a movie that to me connected a lot more, and it's so good. Even to this day it stands up. So Friday, another one I love and I will be buying in any format that it comes out on for the future. All right, then we have an animated movie, a Ghibli animated movie. This one's called From Up on Poppy Hill. Now, full disclosure, I haven't actually seen this one. This one is directed by Goro Miyazaki, not to be confused with Hayao Miyazaki. Goro is his son, and it's his second film that he did. The first one he did was called Tales of Earthsea, I believe, and it was very bad. It was so bad, in fact, that his father, his own father, Hayao Miyazaki, walked out of the screening and in an interview basically said that it was trash and that his son is still a boy because he, I forget the exact words he used, but he was like, it's clear that he's not a man yet. Like, I was like, oh my God. So his first movie, trash. This movie was actually written by Hayao Miyazaki and directed by Goro, his son. And as far as how much each of them had involvement in this movie, I don't know, but simply based on what I've heard as far as the quality is concerned, it definitely feels like maybe Hayao was a little more involved in this than he let on. But yeah, I haven't actually seen this one yet. I just picked it up because all of the Ghibli movies are coming out on Steelbooks, and I thought this would be a good one to scoop up as well. So I'll get around to it at some point, but and I'm not a big fan of Steelbooks in general, but this is something that I feel like if I owned all the Ghibli Steelbooks would be pretty cool. So From Up on Poppy Hill, if you've seen it, let me know what you think in the comments below. No spoilers though, because I haven't seen it myself. But it is in the collection, and I will be doing this with all the Ghibli movies. All right, and last up, before I lose my voice, I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold, so my voice is a little weak. But last up is another little 2-pack here, Frozen and Frozen 2. That's right. I remember watching the first Frozen movie when it came out, and I kind of turned it off after a few minutes because I just didn't think it was for me. There's a point at the very beginning of the movie where Anna, who is the younger sister of the main character, kind of goes a little crazy over this one boy, and they're like, we're gonna get married, and I'm like, I don't care about this. But if you continue to watch the movie, you'll see that that is not the route that they're going with it. It's not gonna be this ridiculous, silly, and immature relationship story, but perhaps I was a little immature in turning it off because I thought that's what it was going to be. But I actually really enjoy both Frozen movies. In fact, the second one kind of tugged at my heartstrings a lot more than I thought it would. And again, as I mentioned before, a lot of times the Disney sequels are not anywhere near as good as the originals. But in this case, when it comes to Frozen and Frozen 2, I think they are both pretty close as far as quality is concerned and as far as how much I enjoy the stories. So say what you will, judge me how you will. I do really enjoy both Frozen movies, and I have them both in the collection. But that is it for the movies that start with the letter F that I have in my collection. If there are any that you think I missed, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm constantly updating the collection, and every month I will be posting another video with the next letter in it, so when we get back around to the Fs, there will probably be all new movies for me to talk to you about. So if I missed any, let me know in the comments. Also, real quick, if you want to support me and my little channel here, right now I'm just shy of 1,000 subscribers, which basically means I can't monetize my channel, so the only way I can make any real money is through my Amazon affiliate link. So if you scroll down to the description box below the video, there's a link there. If you plan on buying anything on Amazon today, if you go through the Amazon affiliate link, it won't cost you anything extra, and it just gives me a little kickback. So if you do, I appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. All right, be good.